Welcome back to Impact Ed, and Steve, you've organised a bumper holiday edition for us today.
Yes, James, we're very excited. Today we've got with us Tim McCallum, Executive Director for Regional North, the big Kahuna,
The chairman of the board,
the Godfather,
the head honcho,
El Capitano.
El Guapo.
Are we done?
I've got a few more, but we should probably get down to business.
I hope you're not disappointed.
In all seriousness, we are really excited, Tim, to have you with us today to unpack the work you've been leading with the Dells around clues. We've got your graphic overlaid, actually, hand on heart, there it is. And what we'd like to do today is just unpack what you think that looks like in a school and just have a bit of a conversation around it.
Sure. Steve, probably the first thing, which is a very important point to this, is that amongst our team in Regional North, we've all contributed to this. So there's an ethos there that is underpinned that we collaboratively and collegially have devised that, which I think is really important because no one model imposed is going to make that difference that we see.
And Tim, this was put together, we all participated in this over a period of months really, when we look back on it. How important was it for you to have a common driving force amongst the people you work with?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, James. School improvement is the main game, and we were all cognizant of that. I think to have school improvement clarity as to what we all mean by that is the key thing, because we all think it's this and we think it's that, and it's a lot of things. And I guess we tried to quantify the extent of our understanding and to bring about our own sense of collective efficacy in driving a common model.
And that's a great point to start, Tim. We've got the acronym up on the screen, CLUES. Our C obviously is collective efficacy. What would you expect to see, and why is that important at a school level?
Yeah, I think the key thing is that the unity and cohesion of any executive team, or indeed a school team, really underpins the weight of us all realising what we know John Hattie and his effect size will tell us, that collective efficacy is one of the biggest things. For everyone to buy in, to own it, to have a shared and common purpose, and to have a truly shared vision and undertaking, I think that underpins all of our work when we're working in so many teams as we do. So collective efficacy, I guess in the school, is going to see unity of purpose, unity of energy and enthusiasm around the one thing that matters most, which is student betterment. So and not an easy thing to achieve. We've got staff coming in, different absences and professional learning, but we've got to build that as leaders, and to do that well is a rich reward when everyone is driving in the same direction.
And I really like the concept that not everybody has to absolutely agree on every single aspect, but what they have to do is agree to the commitment that this is what we're committed to. We have a common purpose, a common agreement, and we will live what we say that we will do.
And Steve, one of the great quotes in this area, which I'm a big believer in, is a rising tide lifts all boats. And if nothing else, a lovely metaphor in Regional North for our waterfalls and lakes and reservoirs and rivers. But definitely, if we can all do that, then everyone benefits.
Tim, the L in CLUES stands for leadership, and we've loosely applied this to building the capacity of teachers, but what's the flow here? How do we get to affect the capacity of teachers in every classroom through our role?
Yeah, and I guess as directors and as executive directors, we want to see that leadership is unleashed for its greatness, empowered and trusted in all of its different ways. But building the capacity of others really goes to trust. It goes to a number of things, I think, James, around the way in which a leader can bring others with them. Do they stand alongside? Do they work with, not over? How do we do that in a way which empowers others around us to rise up and to deliver, the great features of their skill as an individual? It's no easy thing. If it was easy, it would have been done, and if it's not easy, it's not high performance. So we've got to keep at that, and certainly see that others around us need those opportunities and challenges. And I think by doing that well, we lift principal capacity. Principals in turn lift teacher capacity.
So with that in mind, there's a very important window that's open right now, a window of time that will be closing sometime in the next 10 to 15 weeks of school. So what sort of focuses do you think is really important right now at a school level?
In terms of the leadership capacity, I think, here we are with situation analysis really before us, where we can really unpack, different elements of our school life, which a single principal can't do on their own. So I think there's a great opportunity to be able to empower folk and to trust them legitimately that they can come back, unpack the data, really look at best practice, visit other schools, see what could make your school better. It's exciting. And as you say, James, it's a 6-month window for another reset of 4 years. So great chances there.
And we often use the highly researched term left-handed basket weaving. If a school wants to improve left-handed basket weaving in their students, they've got to build that capacity in their teachers to deliver the practice in class. And that takes us to expectations, Tim. Again, when we talk expectations, what are you referring to in terms of school improvement?
Yeah. And I guess an ethos in our team is certainly around high standards and high expectations. And those expectations, I think, start with ourselves. It's very easy to say, I have very high expectations of that person and this person. Start with yourself firstly, what you need to do to be better at what you do. But I guess in terms of school improvement, if we're setting the benchmark high, be it attendance, be it figures around our Premier's priorities, which again sit there as important figures and features of our next 6 months and coming years, we have to have those expectations of ourselves and each other's. And it leans into that collective efficacy area as well, that once we establish that and are uncompromising in what we expect of ourselves, our executive, our teachers, and many principals are doing this fantastically, Steve, as we know already, and some are just doing it so well that they've got that culture within their school. But without it, low expectations, not a lot of people tolerate those, and nor do they want to see them. But to a point James made the previous episode around what does failure look like, look to expectations if you want to identify that, and success sits on the other side.
He's our recognised expert in failure. But expectations to me links with one of my favourite quotes, and that is the greatest limitation on student achievement is teacher expectation.
So let's move on. Now, this one's interesting because this, I think, puts the whole process well ahead of its time. We were talking about clues, the W standing for well-being, about a year ago. And look how 2020 has unfolded. How important and how prophetic was it to build that as a centrepiece of our combined approach?
And as we all know, good student wellbeing is the platform for good teaching and learning. And I think we do this piece really well. And it's that nexus. How do we, by establishing our inclusive education statement, our behaviour strategy, the new suspension policy, there's a whole raft of things sitting there alongside what we already have, which is an extensive range of supports, PBL and other things that sit there in great quantity and quality within our schools. But how do we establish that base in a new way? And Aboriginal education, I think, is a really important area that for too long we've probably, we've set things up and we've tried things, but we need to get serious there with that as a Premier's priority. So Our well-being, yeah, we're a little bit futuristic there, soothsayers one and all, but we do know that part of that well-being piece is also our staff well-being. And for our staff to be comfortable, positive, and really well equipped for the volume of change and the volume of expectation that we unashamedly bring for student betterment.
An absolute focus there has to be around student attendance and engagement. We know the absolute direct link to student results, and that's
the link is linear. You know, the higher the absence rate, the lower the achievement. It's direct.
And we know that students who are away from school are often not home studying, which might surprise a few of the viewers out there. But we've got to get them through the door, and without that piece, which is a real strong priority of the department, but without that piece, our teaching and learning uplift is compromised, and we don't want that. We want the best for one and all.
And that takes us to the final piece in the puzzle, Tim, systems.
Yeah. And we have plenty of them, and some of them perhaps, front and centre in our situation analysis in our schools to revisit, refine. Steve, you mentioned attendance, our systems around attendance, and our ownership of our systems within our school, because some of those systems need to be tweaked and need to be refined and sharpened. And I think, everyone appreciates that we have those things. Sometimes we need to question them. Sometimes we need to revisit them. But without those clear systems, those clear processes, as soon as change lands with us, it makes it so much harder to really make sure that that's effective if our systems and structures and practices are not there.
Tim, I think I've heard you use the term more than once, operating rhythm, and this concept of getting into a flow. Tell us a bit about that. How does that turn into an effective school?
Yeah, I think, James, there's a precision that the work requires to really make it effective without leaks and so on, and developing an operating rhythm that is shared and known by everyone within that school. It requires a lot of planning and a lot of tweaking, and sometimes it can be over-engineered and sometimes sadly under-engineered. But I think to be able to have very clear systems, very clear practices within our school, that we are not too precious about, and that we revisit and question, that starts to refine a continuous improvement ethic within the team and within the school that is so beneficial. It's a mindset too, that you're looking for high performance, you're looking for that edge, and you're not just sitting complacently with yesterday's system. So sharp systems and practice informed by the change, informed by the research and data, bring about, I believe, a really slick school that is forward-looking.
Thank you, Tim, and obviously the systems will help us get that consistency of practice. So when we're looking at the clues, there's a very strong link for me with our system negotiated targets. You said right at the beginning that school improvement is the only game in town. That's a term that James and I have echoed repeatedly. A school following the 5 processes and putting a real lens on each, you're expecting to see a significant uplift?
Yeah, I think, it's easy to sit there and espouse a model and talk of it. I think, again, with that model in our team, the collective efficacy is the powerful piece behind the whole thing, that we believe, we've contributed, we see that, and we own it. And we own good and bad around that, and we've got to get it better and sharper. And the uplift that we seek, Steve, we are the change that will bring it. And I guess we're modelling that, we're living that, and we have high expectations of each and every school. We think we can do a bigger and better job, if that's not too big of an ask for people watching, that some people may worry about that, but we believe very firmly in the talent that we've got, the recruitment that we've made, and we can see that will happen. Yeah.
And I guess at the end of the day, if schools don't meet their targets, if we don't get the uplift, what's actually going to happen is student achievement is not going to improve. And that's the bottom line. That's why we're here. That's why the whole department exists. So you've done a lot to pull this work together with all of the DELs in Regional North. So I guess in order to close this out and so that we understand, what would you think a model like this, what would happen without a model like this?
Yeah. Without a model like this, I guess we would all be swimming in different directions. We'd think there'd be a lot less certainty. We'd think we're touching on it, or maybe we are, but is everyone? So the commonality of purpose, the shared sense of energy and focus, I think for us as a team, in terms of school improvement, it's given us a guiding light to assist others and to inspire the work that others do. In Regional North, we talk about inspiring, collaborating, empowering and excelling, and we'd like to think that this, as Steve has indicated, will certainly bring about that uplift in all of our measures so that we all meet our system negotiated targets.
All right. And on that note, thank you very much for joining us. Tim, we've absolutely loved having you here and hope you'll come back again.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having us, and great to be a guest.
And so on that note, it's good night from me.
And good night from Tim.
Good night.